Okay. Transition into the weather event. And a little feedback on how we responded to this. If you would refer to the diagram that I have provided to you, we'll start with the rail system. It's easier to talk from a visual aid. We'll start over on the left where we're at Hillsborough at Hatfield. The problems with the embedded switches at Hatfield caused out of correspondence or mobility problems with that switch, routing trains in and out of Hatfield.
Could we just make sure we give enough background of what weather event we're talking about and kind of what kind of happened?
We did have a snowstorm on December 29th. We were in discussions that day with our consultant, Mr. Volker, on the planned forecast for the valley area. We talked with him early in the morning, roughly 9 a.m. We talked to him again at 3, 3:30, and then 4 o'clock. And every one of those conversations, it was, you will receive at the most a dusting of snow on the valley floor. If you recall, our service, when we put the service out, we already have probably 60% of our service already on the street at 3 in the afternoon because it runs the base service. We add about 40%, 30% of our service at the peaks. So the afternoon pullouts usually start between 2 and 3 p.m. trying to get out in service so they're where the customers need them when they get off work and start to commute home. We made a decision based on those forecasts not to change buses on the exit of the bus garages. We did have dry pavement. Those chains on buses cause not only harm to the vehicles, but harm to the roads also. At 4:15, it's snowing. At 4:30, it's snowing more. At 4:45, it's still snowing. And we're getting reports now of problems with the rail system. More importantly, problems with just traffic congestion with everybody from their office hitting the road and trying to exit the city at the same time. So we'll get to the mall area being tied up with traffic congestion. But if we could just walk through the diagram now. If you remember early on, we've done a capital program where we went out and we addressed our embedded ballasted switches with heaters and covers to assist in the snow events that have caused us problems in the past. If you quickly look at just the green marks on there, those are the areas where we have the heaters and the switch covers installed, and we had no issue with any of those areas. Those are historically the areas in where we suffer the most on the east side of our system with the wind coming in from the gorge.
So then there are no heaters in the other 1, 2, 3?
Not at this point in time. Now, there are in some, and I'll go over each one of those as we speak. But we have also a continuing capital project through stimulus to actually put switch heaters and drains in the embedded switches. And that's where you'll see 2 and 1, where we will go in and through this next year put heaters in to those embedded areas to provide mobility of that switch. But what the concept of this snowstorm, we were going to use human resource in the field to the best of our ability to manipulate the switches. Again, the snowstorm hitting at 4 o'clock was unfortunate. When you start to disperse your folks, they are in the same traffic congestion as anyone else. So if we look at the map, we start with number 1 out of Hillsborough. We had problems there. If you come into number 2, that's our Almonica yard. That's one of our yards where we populate the afternoon peak service from the yard. We had an issue with switches there in the yard where they weren't engaged at the right point in time because of the event came so quick that we got stuck in the yard leaving the afternoon peak service. If you move into the city, number 3 is where the automobile lanes were blocked through our new transit mall. When you had everybody in the city exiting at one point in time, the traffic was not only in the approved traffic lanes for vehicles, but they were in the transit lanes also. Just anybody doing whatever they could to get out. For a long long period of time, the bus would sit there in the transit lane and have automobile, automobile, automobile in front of it. The intersection was blocked because people are trying to go east and west and north and south. We did what we could. With that traffic congestion, it also caused us a problem in response, not only us, but ODOT, the city, in terms of getting to rescue anybody because of the traffic congestion. I think the most important piece of this storm was the fact that when people are already at their destination and something like this hits, it is very difficult to maintain any level of service when everybody is exiting the city at the same time and providing traffic congestion for us. The positive side again for us is the areas in green where the work with the switch heaters and covers kept the switches mobile and operational. We didn't have issue there. It was really the congestion that caused the concern for us. Any questions quickly as it relates to the rail system?
In terms of retrofitting 1 and 2 and the other red points, that would be a year?
This year we will finish with the embedded switches. So as an example, number 5, we will have switch heaters there. They won't be iced up. That will keep trains from transitioning through the Rose Quarter. The Rose Quarter, as you know, is a very busy place for us. We've got all 4 lines that transition through the Rose Quarter. What we were able to do is to keep the blue and the red line operational, east and west. And what we did is ran the green and yellow line from Clackamas up to Delta Park and then back, and forced a transfer at Rose Quarter for anybody to get into the city if that's where they wanted to do. We also had on the mall green line / yellow line trains trapped on that side that we provided to the best of our ability, just a shuttle, but with the traffic, the shuttle was almost impractical to use. You could walk quicker than using that train service.
When will you be upgrading these?
They're starting as we speak,
Right.
yes, this upcoming year.
Let me, maybe just a couple of things. First off, I want to step back and just make sure the board understands the difference between what's called embedded track and kind of the open ballast track. If you think the open ballast track, that's just kind of like the railroad track. You see the ties, the rails are sitting out there by themselves. The switch heater covers that are over that essentially allows for the whole area to be heated, so the switches can actually work, so we can kind of shuttle vehicles in different directions. The embedded track is really what you're seeing in like downtown Portland. It's also the case in downtown Hillsborough and other places, where you really have the track right with pavement on all sides. The difficulty, the challenge I should say, on the embedded track is if all you do is just heat it, then what you do is you just have liquid that will go out somewhere else and freeze and cause you more problems. So you have to then end up putting in drains in that area as well to get the moisture, once you've heated it, out of the way so that it really does in fact allow for the continuous operation of that. And so it's a much more complicated setting relative to this. For us, these types of ice problems have always been predominantly on the east side. I mean, it's the gorge winds and so on, as Steve said. And so as we were putting the process of using the stimulus funds to barge through where we did first, we did east side first, and we're always intending to be able to get to these, and will so later on this year in 2010.
Did you say 1, 2, 3, and 5 for the record?
5, 1 are the key embedded switch areas. 3 was particularly, I misspoke, 3 was particularly the traffic congestion that held up. And 2, we have a natural gas type, a natural gas, LP gas heaters for those switches, and they weren't activated in a timely manner to get the trains out of the yard. So that was one of, as Fred always says, our lessons learned after we go back and look at our service and what we could do better the next time. That was a learning experience.